Hello everyone, this is China Paradigm, where we, Dashi Consulting, interview seasoned entrepreneurs in China.
Hello everyone, I'm Matthieu David, founder of Dashi Consulting and its podcast, China Paradigms. I'm today with Tom Xiong. You are the founder of Move Shanghai, an app providing premium health and fitness membership to enjoy experiences of fitness and sport in more than 150 places, as I understood, over Shanghai. I used your app today. Yeah. I went through the map. Indeed, I found like 3 or 4 places next to my office, which is something I was looking for a long time. So I may be using it after the talk. You're also the co-founder, of a podcast called Digital China. I just learned before, right now, like 3 minutes ago. So I'm going to listen to it. It seems very, very active. I see like 1 or 2 episodes or 1 or 2 episodes per month or even more, 2 or 3 sometimes. So it looks like very, very active. You have also an experience of Chinese startup. You have been at P1 before, you have been different startup. So that's something I'd be interested to know how it worked out for you. And also you have been working in consulting, as I understand. You advised some companies in the past. But first of all, I like to understand better what's Move Shanghai. And I like to go in depth in how you built it, how you manage it, and what you provide for your clients. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. Nice being here. So Move Shanghai, we're basically a digital platform that allows people to access thousands of different fitness activities around Shanghai. So it's a pretty simple marketplace place, such as Airbnb, Uber, etc., where we, instead of you as a consumer need to go to one gym and get one annual card or whatnot, you can access everything through us instead, and just buy a membership through us instead, or just pay per time. And we offer everything, from 5-star hotel swimming to NBA style basketball classes to CrossFit and yoga, etc. And the purpose of this being actually that we saw a huge part of the market of people that want to have fitness because it makes them more healthy. But the main problem is that they are not super into fitness. So they kind of stop using it very fast because they get bored by only going to one place. So we hope to be able to allow more people to work out and make the pie bigger, to say.
Interesting. Before we go back at the idea of the mission you have with Move Shanghai, could you give us an idea of the size of your business currently? It could be number of clients, could be revenues, could be a number of places. I think I found this number of places you're offering. Could be the size of the team, to give an idea to the people who are listening to us, at which stage of development you are.
Yeah, so we're still fairly early stage. It's taken a while to kind of find product market fit, but we're at the stage now where we're growing quite a lot. We have about 20,000 members in Shanghai, about 150 different studios. We're adding about now at the rate of 20 to 50 studios a month. So it depends on when this is published. There might be way more than 150. And also the team is fairly small. We're about 10 people in the team here in Shanghai. That includes both technology and customer service and marketing, etc.
I see. About the business model, how do you work? I went to your website, so I understand that I can subscribe to your services and then I have a certain amount of classes every month, like 10, 15 classes. And also I can pay per session. So you have different ways, I feel, to monetize. Could you give us a better understanding how what you sell and also the business model behind?
So the business model, the actual how it works is very close to how, for example, Spotify works. So I negotiate a fixed rate with all the venues that work with me. So let's say you're a gym, right? So every time someone from Move Shanghai goes to your place, I'm gonna pay you a fixed fee. And you as a gym, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do any marketing. You don't need to do any the sales. I'm just gonna bring you a bunch of people for you to focus on the thing you love, which is, let's say, hold a yoga class. And what I do, on the other hand, to the users, to the B2C, is obviously that I charge them a fee that is higher than what I pay to the actual studio or at the actual gym, in order to, in there, have a margin. What you pay for as a user is that you get to buy, let's say, a pack of 10 classes, but they're valid anywhere. So for you as a user, you're paying for the flexibility. You're paying for being able to live free and do whatever you want and at any time you want to do it. And then we obviously also have something called Move Go, which is very much inspired by WeWork Go, which is meant for you to just go to 1 or 2 classes without buying any type of membership anywhere.
I see. So I am on your pricing page, and I see 1999 RMB, 1,499, and 88 for Move Go per session. If I understand, you are pricing a little bit higher to have access to more venues and more activities. You're not pricing higher for more bookings. So actually, you feel the value is the access of the number of places more than the number of sessions.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, like, there are 2 types of fitness consumers out there. There's one person that loves, yoga and loves going to yoga at a certain place. We're not targeting that type of customer because they should go to an actual yoga studio and buy their annual card, whatever usually costs around 10,000 to 20,000 here in Shanghai. They should go there and they can go there every week at any time they want, only that place because they love that activity and they love that venue. That represents about 15 to 20% of the paid fitness market in China. The rest of the market are people that are either new to fitness or not super loyal to fitness due to lack of interest. I mean, a lot of people work out despite being interested in it because it's good for your body, right? And those people, we've found that they over time very fast decline in their consumption. So they go down in their consumption because they get bored. And what we're fixing is exactly that problem. But obviously, per time, you're gonna pay slightly more if you want this very wide and broad access versus if you just go to one single place and commit to them for a year.
I see. I understand. The question of the business model behind it is a couple of questions in terms of how to operate. First thing is that how can you harmonize and get 1990, let's say 1,000 RMB for 10 bookings? And I believe each of those studios have different pricing. That's the first thing. And secondly, I may have misunderstood, but I feel that you have some inventory and that you are paying first some studio, or is it a profit sharing model? Because when I looked at your business, I thought it was a profit sharing model. I used to manage a company in Beijing where we were selling gift boxes, and inside you can go for a star and whatever, and it was profit sharing model. So I thought I had understanding of how you were operating, but now I'm a bit confused if you have an inventory and you pay first some studio and then you have kind of deposit with them. How do you work?
No, we work on an after-pay model, which means that, let's say you're a Move member. So today on April 2nd, you go to a yoga class. By the end of this month, I'm going to calculate how many visits in total there were to this yoga studio, and then we pay the yoga studio for what we owe them for the amount of visits they receive.
I see.
So it's an after-pay model. The reason actually we didn't go for, so there are 2 ways to do this business model. One way is that I talk to each individual 150 studios, right? And I say, hey, I want to pay you X or Y, and then we negotiate, and then they give me a price of between X and Y, right? That's how we operate. And then there's another way to operate, which is telling the studio, saying the same way Didi or Uber does, saying, we're going to charge the end user. Don't really know how much, but I'm going to give you, let's say, 70% of the revenue. I'm going to keep 30 and I'm going to distribute 70 to everyone working with me. The reason why we did not choose the latter option is because the fitness market in China is very immature, and you have very, differentiated pricing, very varied pricing between different studios, different locations of the city, etc., etc. And in order to have a profit sharing model, you need to have a slightly more mature market where the pricing levels have matured, where people are charging what their demand is, and you have more clear layers of different qualities. So in Shanghai, everything is a little bit more mixed together because it's such a new industry, and the prices vary quite a lot. And when that happens, it means that if you do a profit sharing model, you either create happy, very happy, or very unhappy suppliers, i.e. the gyms. Because someone says, I usually charge 300 per class, and then this month in the profit sharing with Tom, I average only 30 RMB per class, And some say, I only charge 30, I got 30, it's awesome. So, and because just the variations is so much in the pricing level. While, for example, in some other markets, for example, in Stockholm, Sweden, there's a model like ours where they do only profit sharing, but that's because that industry is super mature. Everyone is charging exactly what they should charge.
So I'm a bit confused. You don't have a profit sharing model, meaning that you don't charge the same thing to the end consumer. Can you explain then how you work yourself? Because the profit sharing model is pretty clear for me. 30%, 70% is pretty standard actually to take 30% when you're in profit sharing model. I feel the gift box business like Smartbox in France, in Europe, and that's what I was doing in Beijing. It's for 30%. But how do you work? I'm not very clear now.
So basically the way our model works is that we go to each individual studio and we say, okay, let's say you charge 300 RMB for a class. To the end user as a studio, okay? And then we say, based on our data, based on the expertise of the market, we feel we should pay, let's say, 50 RMB for a class here, okay? Because that is the actual true market value of this product. Because when we sell it, in our packages, I need to have a margin, but compared to all other inventory I have, you should be priced at 50. If you don't feel that is okay, only give me the classes that you feel are valued at 50. That enables a more long-term type of cooperation with, let's say, with the studios, because then they can take the feedback and say, why don't I design a class or design an experience that is more valued for this 50 RMB type of price point? Because we have so many new studios in Shanghai that haven't achieved product market fit. So that number of 300 is not verified why they should charge 300. Because it's an immature market. If I wouldn't do it like that, then it would mean I just say, I can't guarantee you how much money you're going to make next month. Maybe 30 per class, maybe 50, maybe 300. Depends on how much I sell and depends on how much they use it. Make sense? And then you have a problem because you can't, you can't get, because every fitness studio in Shanghai are usually small businesses. So they need to have a very realistic view of how much money they are going to be making this month or next month. Because it's like you and I, we run small business, right? I mean, we need to know how much money we're making. We can't take any risks. So me as a platform, I need to take the risk and I need to guarantee them actual money coming in terms of at least unit price. So they understand that if I invest in another coach to run another class for me and I get 20 people, then at least I know I will make the money back to cover my costs.
I see. Talking about, so fully understand now the model. Talking about the 999 RMB for 10 bookings. Still, I have a question here. How can you harmonize the pricing for different experiences and different classes?
So that's a risk we take, right? So we have certain partners that are more expensive, and we have certain partners that are less expensive. For us, for the consumer, it is going to be the same. And that's a risk we as a marketplace take, where we guarantee you're going to pay 1,000 kwai for 10 classes, period. And then if you only go to the classes that are maybe very expensive, then I have lower profitability. But that's the only way to make the consumer feel secure about something new, because we're at a point in Shanghai and in China where the fitness consumption is very new and very immature. And if people don't trust the product, know what they're paying for, then no one will ever use it.
I understand. When you say booking, is it a class, a one-to-one class? Is it a group class? Is it just to enjoy a session, like going for one day?
So we have mainly three types of things. So we have group classes, so which is, let's say, yoga class with 10 people or 20 people, or a Zumba class. We have gym access, which is that you can go to a gym or a 5-star hotel to swim or gym, and you can be there for as long as you want that day. You can go there anytime and you can leave anytime within their opening hours, of course. And then the third thing is that we have sports. So, and that is also obviously based on time. Let's say we have tennis. So you need to actually reserve an actual time, to play tennis. And that's depending on venue, that's depending on sports and venue, that's everything from 1 hour to 2 hours in length.
I see. So not one-to-one, but group classes, access to facilities, which can be sport or hotel facilities. I understand. Between the plan of basic pass and universal pass, my understanding is that you have more venues in the universal pass, and it's more expensive. I feel that actually you may provide venues which are actually maybe more expensive, and a way for you to offer higher priced venues without bearing the risk of being unprofitable on those ones. Is my understanding correct?
Yes, so there are two things in this. So we actually just started with this pretty late last year, which means that we have two packages, the basic and universal pass. You have more access to venues in universal pass than you have in the basic pass. And the reason why this happened is, like you say, it's a challenge with harmonization, because when we started expanding outside Shanghai, cover Hongqiao, cover outer areas of Pudong, etc., usually the fitness venues out there tend to be much more cheaper to the consumer, which means that our price point, our original price point of 1,500 was a little bit too high if you live out in Hongqiao and you only want to access Hongqiao places, right? And that's why we started kind of a cheaper type of membership for you to access certain venues, and obviously that is an issue that overall is happening whenever the market matures, where you're going to have a few more fixed price points. So basically, the way we look at it is that there are two types of users. There are the users that are sub 100 RMB per class, and then there are users around 150 RMB per class. Those are very different in their behavior and in what they need and want.
I see. Okay. Then in terms of operation, I was wondering, it's never easy to plug a solution which is driving clients to a place. For instance, you invoice a client, so you get the money from the client, and you bring someone to a venue. But the person at the venue with at the reception may not know your offer. They may not know that the client has paid through you, or there may be some turnover of people. How do you solve this issue? Because I had this specific issue when I was working in this gift box industry. Sometimes we had like restaurants, spa, and then people changed, or even they closed. But not even talking about closing, they changed. The reception was different. They didn't know about the offer. How do you solve this issue?
So I think that's one of the very important stuff, like in an O2O business, right? Because your one of your O's, the offlines, is always going to have a huge reach, and you're going to have a huge diversity in terms of staff, in terms of language skills, in terms of education level, and in terms of everything, right? So we have big, huge internal processes to both before we enroll any new gym or studio on our platform. We obviously, do like QA on their actual offline experience. How are they? Are they premium or not, etc., etc. And then obviously, we make sure to onboard the reception staff, the people hosting the clients and taking them in. And then we have actually dashboards that they use in order to get the understanding of who's going to come. But also at the same time, we have integrations with their booking systems and or reception software, depending on what they use. And then we have very active WeChat groups with every single gym that our operations staff here at our office keep. So anytime there's an issue, we are always there. So if they get a user in, they say, hey, I can't find this person's booking, and we solve it. And then for us, it's very important, obviously, that the experience is good enough. So.
Yeah, I remember when I was managing this business in Beijing, what we did is that people had to book through our hotline. So they called us or sent us an email at that time, which wasn't existing, and then we were booking for them. So we're making sure that they got the right package and so on. How does it work for you? You say that you integrate with each CRM. It looks like a huge work because they have different CRM. We believe some of them may not be even, the server may not be in China because we may have foreigners managing some fitness centers. Some of them may have an Excel or whatever. So because you're a small studio, as you said. So how do you integrate that? And you said that you send them notification. Does it mean that there is an app for them as well? There is a backend for them to see on your app the number of people who book. And then if I book from your app, then it's sending a notification to the studio. How does it work? What's the flow? What's the process?
Yeah, so from the user perspective, they use our mini program or our iPhone app to do a booking, and the user experience is usually pretty okay. So it means that they tap book and then it's booked. They get a confirmation. Sometimes that confirmation is delayed because there are certain venues where we need to wait for their confirmation. And on the 2B side, on the venue side, we basically have three types of solutions. So one is that we have a direct API integration with a few of the more famous or large CRMs that larger studios usually use. And then we also have a second solution where we have our own backend and a dashboard for the staff. Let's say you sometimes have small studios that use paper and pen, yeah? And then it's easier for them to get our dashboard up and they can see, oh yeah, I have Tom registered on this class. And the third solution is that we have our own developed kind of check-in system. So we have we put on the Xiaomi pad, an Android pad at the front desk, and the only thing the user do is that they go to the front desk and they say, I'm from Move, and then they get the pad and then they enter the code they got from Move, and either the pad turns green and then the front the front desk knows whether they should show the people in or not let them in.
I see. So you even provide a POS, like a device for some of them?
Yes, we do.
Okay, that's a bit changing the economics, because if you do that for 150 places, you have to buy those products and to maintain them. That's a different model. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, we don't do it with many, so we only do it with the very high traffic ones that don't have their own integrated CRM. So it's very few, actually.
I see. Interesting that you can adapt to different places depending on the opportunity and the flow of clients you send. You talked about iOS, you talked about the iPhone app, and I noticed that you don't mention the Android app. I like to know what was your strategic choice on this. I interviewed some months ago Sébastien Godin from Kangoo, and indeed he developed only iOS. because he found out that his clients, actually his users, were mainly iPhone. Very few of them are using Android. So I'd like to have your view on this, and also your view on mini program. So you have an iOS app, you have a WeChat mini program, and you don't have an Android app. So what's your view on different formats?
Yeah, it was based on the same thing. When we launched about 2.5 years ago, we made the conclusion that most people were using iPhone. So we wanted to focus on iOS due to lack of resources, right? And then at the same time, we built a mobile website, H5, that we integrated into WeChat. And we thought, okay, you know, if you have an Android, then that's how you access us. And then we were actually then we actually finished the development of our Android app last summer, and we were going to launch it, but we actually put the brakes on it and stopped maintaining and didn't launch it at all, because we did not want to build up too much debt and build up too much. With that, I mean technical debt, and have too much stuff to maintain, because we still have so much product development to do. And instead, we went over to actually WeChat mini program only. So we haven't done an iOS app update since I think August last year, and we are moving everyone over to WeChat mini program. Number one, instead of being able to only do one release a month, app release a month, because of all the time it takes to develop iOS, we're now doing multiple releases a week with a smaller team.
I see. I downloaded your app, so I was surprised to be actually sent to Safari at some point. I don't know if it was when I clicked on how it works or learned about the pricing, and then I was sent out of the app. So now I understand that the iOS app is not your focus anymore. That's the mini program which is your focus, and you want people to follow you on WeChat directly, WeChat creating a real ecosystem. And the concept of technological debt is very interesting. It's you mean by this that by developing too much or too complex infrastructure or technological solution, you have a liability, you have more problems with which emerge, so debt. Is that the concept you were talking about?
Yes, exactly. So the more different code bases you use, the more bugs you need to fix, you know? And the more bugs you need to fix means the less time you have for actual development.
Yes. What about mini program? Do you feel that it is as powerful as a native app on iOS? Do you feel there's some limitation, or do you feel it's equivalent?
For our purposes, like, because we gotta remember what we do, right? So we run a very, I would say, a simple recommendation platform. Basically, what we do is that we give users a bunch of different lists, and then we have a pretty heavy backend behind it to give you the best possible list, you know? But considering we have thousands of things for you to choose from, our key thing is to give you the best possible list of things you can book. And then you tap, you book, you pay, you're done, yeah? So basically, so for our purposes, WeChat mini program is like the best thing that ever happened to us. Because obviously, if I were to do mobile gaming, et cetera, maybe iOS would be better and more powerful, but not for our purposes. And the only key thing I would say is that it's usually easier to do very, very beautiful experiences in iOS, where in WeChat mini program, you need to do much more, how do we say it, transactional experiences. So it depends a little bit on the purpose of what you do. For us, obviously, we want to do a beautiful, inspiring experience, but at the same time, it's really hard for us to do because we need to give you information about thousands of things. And we don't need to drive inspiration the same way that, for example, Airbnb needs to, because Airbnb is selling you that your vacation house, you know? But I'm just telling you one thing you do in your city on Thursday.
I see. Yeah, I use both of your platforms, and I don't know if it's because it's more updated or more comprehensive, but I stick with a mini program much more, and it was very convenient, so I could see what time, which day the next stations would be close to my office. So indeed, the experience was very intuitive and very easy. So you talked about technological debt. In some way, there is a bit of financial uh, term here. Could you tell us more on how you financed the company? Did you raise money? Did you finance yourself? Did you program yourself at the beginning? How did you start?
So when we started, we raised angel funding of a few million RMB, and up to date we've raised only in the single digits uh, of millions.
Okay.
And still angel stage, we turned cash flow positive um, after about 2 years of business.
Okay.
And we haven't raised any new funds since then, and we will probably not for a while.
Okay.
And the main reason is because we are a paid service. So we're not one of those classical, free apps that's supposed to generate millions of users and always lose a bunch of money, until you IPO or whatnot. So the product market fit in in Move is about making money. If I can't turn cash flow positive, then I didn't prove shit, to be honest.
I see. I see.
And otherwise, my business model doesn't work, right? So,
Yeah.
so that's how we're operating right now. We're kind of at the stage right now where we're growing organically quite fast, with because we have we have put the technology in place, we have put our processes in place. So now it's only about running slightly faster, but in a more structured way. And then at the same times, we are growing in other ways, because the key thing for us to grow is not on the 2B side, i.e. it's not the amount of gyms and studios, it is on the 2C side. So the only question is, how do we attract more people, get more people to try this out? Because we know what to do with them the second they come in, and we know how to monetize that. So the only question is, instead of getting, let's say, tens of thousands in, how do we get millions of people in? And that you can fix with a lot of different ways. And me personally, I am not a super big fan of raising too much VC money too early.
Mm-hmm.
We actually turned down a few very big VC deals now almost a year and a half ago, of that simple reason that I think for this type of business, you need to grow in a different way.
I see. I see. So for you, it's more a sales question now. It's how to scale the asset you have built with the number of studios you have. What's your strategy in client acquisition so far?
So obviously, we have seen a lot. We've tried a lot, and what we mainly see is that it's really hard to sell fitness standalone. So imagine this. Imagine I come to you, right? And I say, hey man, you want to work out? And you're like, oh, sounds good. Everyone says that. I sure I want to be healthy, but then the length of conversion is very long. And then after a week, I come back, hey man, like, aren't you going to work out? So it's exactly what you said in the beginning of this recording, which is that I think I'm going to try it out. Everyone says that. No one does. So because the topic of fitness itself is very requiring quite a lot of commitment. So what we have found is that when we do co-marketing, co-sales, co-branding with other brands, everything from F&B to yoga clothes, etc., then we actually get people to engage and get started. So one example is that this month, we actually just launched that yesterday. I'm going to send you the QR code so you see it, is that we work with another very large clothing brand. And what they do is that they will go to all of their entire CRM for Shanghai and tell them, you're buying our clothes to work out. So here's an option for you. You can use Move, you can do whatever you want, and here's a small discount voucher for you to try it out and help out. And this is a beautiful way to work because it's not only good for me, it's good for the studios I work with because they get increased traffic, stuff that they wouldn't be able to do by themselves. If I didn't have 150 studios I work with, I wouldn't be able to negotiate with a very large clothing brand.
I see. What has been the major driver so far in terms of acquisition?
The major drivers have mostly been, I would say, there are two things of it. Number one is creating an opportunity for people to learn about fitness, experiencing it without it being, without it being very hard, So for that we do a lot of at-work workouts. So for example, we work with WeWork, so we do everything. About 10 to 30 different classes every week for WeWork. And this is an opportunity for people at their workplace to experience what this whole thing about fitness is. So it's more education, right? And then the second big driver in this is to make you feel you are not risking anything. You don't need to be afraid. You'll be able to get something perfect for you. Because the main reason why people do not want to do this is that every single person, before they go to that yoga class for the first time, they feel and are afraid that everyone there is more beautiful than me, better at yoga than me, and I'm going to be embarrassing myself. Yeah,
I see.
So it's about removing all of that, so you as a consumer feel, you know what, this is a new experience. Let me just try it out, and maybe it'll be fun. Maybe it's not fun, and then I'll try something else out.
Okay. You talked about working with WeWork and other companies. When I looked at your solution, I thought it could be good fit for B2C. I mean, companies who want to offer some membership or experiences to the team, to their team. Do you have such a section?
We work with corporates. We have a very, very clear B2C strategy. So what that means is that we do not want a company as a client. We want your employees as a client, and we are more than happy to work with you to engage your employees. But at the end of the day, your employees need to come and sign up for themselves. And the basic reason why this is because currently with our prices and the fitness venues we provide, we are not at the mainstream pricing point, which means that all employees, all 1,000 employees at your company will not be able to afford this. And for the company, they need to have an average cost per employee, right? Which means that we usually, and so the numbers just doesn't make sense. But we do provide a lot of free and very discounted workouts for a lot of companies that we host at the company, where the upside for the company is that they get workouts. The upside for us is that we get brand awareness.
I see. Talking about your past experience, how did the past experience you had in other firms, in other startups, as a consultant, help you to build your current business, Move Shanghai?
So the quick story is that I was born in China. I moved to Sweden when I was 6 years old. And then in Sweden at that time, when I was a teenager, internet was a really big thing. So I started coding, selling movies on CDs at my high school, stuff like that. And then I founded a few internet companies. So I ran a total of about 3 internet companies in Sweden. And after I sold the last one, I moved to New York for a while to be a kind of an intrapreneur. So I started up a new business, but for another company based out of New York. And through that, I came to China and Shanghai, and decided I've always wanted to do something here, but more or less decided on what I want to do, which is Move Shanghai. And throughout this period, and also currently right now as well, I've also been working in different levels as advisor to everything from P1 and Tantan in the beginning in China, but right now I'm mainly supporting very large global publicly listed brands in their China strategy, and only as advisor because I have a startup to run.
I see. Interesting. Very interesting. How do you feel about the Chinese diaspora who left China at an early age as you did, and we want to come back to China? I feel China is attracting a lot of Chinese who have been who are living overseas, who have been raised overseas. Most of them want to go back to China to do something because they see China growing so fast. But it seems not that easy to come back to China and to start a business, even with a very good background, academic and professional from overseas. What's your opinion on that?
We actually did a podcast episode about this with the title, "Is China a better place for talent than Silicon Valley?" In tech, of course. And we interview some people. And I mean, like, my overall view is that for the last few years, China, for both China overseas, but a lot of Western talent, has been a place where you see huge growth. And you have a lot of career opportunities, have a lot of business opportunities, especially in tech. And here, you know, with the WeChats, with the TikToks and the DDs and the Alis and the et cetera, actually a lot of, especially within facial recognition and AI, a lot of more stuff is happening here than the rest of the world. But what we found in the episode is, sure, everyone knows it, everyone wants to come back, but just the last year or so, Chinese tech sector has gotten a little bit of a bad rep abroad because of 996 mainly, where a lot of people are thinking working back, coming back, but you know, they're seeing all these articles about people working 9 to 9, 6 days a week, hearing about people don't get bonuses and whatnot, and thinking, you know, my life is pretty cozy here in Palo Alto, at San Francisco, at Facebook or at Google. You know, should I move back, or you know, maybe I should just wait a little bit. So, but overall, I would say I think there's a huge curiosity, because right now in China, there's not only money to be made, but a lot of things to learn. And the thing that hits me very much with people coming here with either ABC type of profile or just foreigners coming here is that everyone is looking for that life experience of being part of something that grows very fast, grows very big, you know? And so everyone is here actually of, I would call it, more pure reasons than you see people move to, for example, New York, where they say, you know, I'm here because I want to make so much of money and then I'm going to get out of here, you know?
Yeah. I see there is more of experience and learning people want from China than purely a financial plan. I see.
Yeah.
In terms of for audience and listeners who don't know 996, 996 means to work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. And I think that's Jack Ma who initiated this word 996, and then it was reused by many people. Jack Ma, by the way, is saying very, very contradictory things. Sometimes he's saying that you should enjoy life and take time, and then saying that you have to work 996. I have a bit difficulties to follow him sometimes. What do you do in order to be up to date in terms of technology, in terms of market, in terms of information? My fear as an entrepreneur sometimes is to be out of the technological race, or to be out of what's happening. How do you keep up to date and make sure that you are in the race?
I think that's one of the main reasons I do the podcast Digitally China. I think seriously, that is the main reason I started doing it, because it is a way for Eva and our producer Jacob to keep up to date about things and keep learning about things and get an actual output of these learnings instead of just reading stuff online and that's it. And through that, you get to talk to a lot of very, very interesting people with a lot of detailed knowledge, and that builds kind of a platform that enables you to get actual information from the market and not just the stuff you read on TechNode or Tech in Asia. And I think it's very important for personal growth.
I see. Eva is working at, if I'm not mistaken, she's working one of those tech bloggers,
right? Eva was at Tech in Asia before, and right now she's a journalist at AFP, and they're based in Beijing.
I see. Talking about your podcast, personal interest, but that may interest as well some listeners. How do you shoot your podcast? We are currently on Zoom.us. I mean, it's pretty good so far. But what do you use as softwares and tools?
We use a pretty I use a pretty low price and very good microphone called Blue that I recommend to everyone. It's like 1,000 RMB, so it's not very expensive. And then what we technically do is that we do local recordings on every computer when we record, because Eva is in Beijing, I'm here. So the production flow is basically that one of us comes up with a concept. We usually interview people. So one of us interviews people, record the interviews. One of us, the person doing interview, cuts that interview into the pieces we're going to use for the podcast that are interesting. And then we record locally on each computer. We do a WeChat call, actually, but we record the actual voice on our local computers. And then we talk through the entire structure of the podcast. We usually record a total of about 1 hour for a 30-minute podcast. And then we send all of that to our producer, Jacob, that edits it and puts all the entire sound effects and everything on it. So it's kind of a little bit more complicated process than normal, but to tell the background, everything started with me and Jacob doing a Swedish podcast called the Digital Dragon in English, and that is a very, very highly produced 1 hour format, storytelling format. So we really the main podcast we were looking at was This American Life, but we want to do that about technology in China. So we actually did 1 full hour production about Jack Ma, only Jack Ma and his life story. But every episode for that podcast takes about 80 hours in total to produce. Yeah.
Wow. Such commitment and investment. I talked to the producers and actually makers of the podcast of TechNode, and they told me they were recording actually they were not recording through WeChat. They were using WeChat to talk to each other, but they were recording on their phone on each side or from the computer directly, and they were using WeChat on the computer, because you cannot use WeChat and record from the phone the video and neither the voice. I don't know if there is security from WeChat to avoid people to record each other and to spy on each other, but it's technically not possible to run a podcast or a vlog through WeChat directly and record your phone. Have you had the same experience? Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Yeah. Well, we don't have issues like that because we do local recordings, because we are very, very aware of our audio quality. So we use real microphones. We use isolated sound booths. Most of our podcasts we do in studio, actually. And all local recordings. Yeah, it's only when we interview someone we do over phone recordings, but then we don't do interview episodes. So we only use, of every 1 hour interview, we use maybe 5 to 10 minutes of audio clips from it.
If you're in studio with Eva and yourself, you are both in so in different cities, Beijing and Shanghai. So you're not talking at the same time. I mean, it's not a discussion, it's step by step. I really need to listen to your podcast. I don't know you have an English one. Sorry for that, but I will. Just that.
No worries.
And so is it a discussion, or is it one by one?
Yeah, so it's a discussion. So we usually together go through topics. So for example, our first episode was about Luckin Coffee, where we want, this was a while ago, but where we want to understand what Luckin Coffee is. We did an episode about comparing Spotify to TME, because TME had listed. We've made one episode about Project Dragonfly entirely, about Google's to be or not to be, in China, and the leaked document saying that they were working coming back to China. So we usually have a topic, and then the usual flow is that we're trying to understand what's actually going on through interviews with experts and whatnot, and then we discuss that, and we usually conclude on something, and all that in about 20 to 30 minutes. And the key thing for us is that we are trying to, through the audio format, through music and clips and news clips and other types of audio, to kind of build a good experience for the listeners. So even though you're not super into tech, you feel you're learning something from it and understanding what the actual implications are on a broader basis than just, for Google or something.
Okay, I see. My last question is, how often do you exercise then?
Well, I actually, it varies, obviously. I found that I vary very much. Sometimes I exercise in the evenings, sometimes I exercise in the mornings. It very much depends. It's based on mood. And that's the beautiful thing I think about it, because sometimes I just feel like, damn, today's Saturday, I'm gonna eat brunch with a few 1 p.m. This is awesome. I don't have a lot of work today, Saturday. So, I'll just go somewhere, just experience it, have a nice time, and sometimes I'm super stressed out and I only want to exercise because it's increase my performance, because I don't need to sleep that much. So then, I do some stuff at home instead. So, and I think that's the key of it, because for me, the reason why I started Move to begin with is that I really hated going to the gym. And then I got really frustrated because whenever I went to the gym, someone was telling me how bad a person I am, and how unfocused I am, and how I just need to shape up my life. And I was there. I was like, I've run 4 startups. I think I can be a pretty focused guy at certain points. So why are you giving me all this shit? And then I realized it's only because your product sucks and your way to sell your product sucks. It's not me. Which other consumer product tells their clients they are shit? Seriously, right? And through that, that's why we started to work with Move, because we really wanted to fix the issue among consumers like me. I mean, I have no problem to pay for fitness. I need that because I'm going to sleep better, I'm going to work better, or my friends, they're going to have more time with their kids. But that's why we need fitness, not because we're in love with yoga or CrossFit, and that is actually a much larger addressable market. At the same time, actually their paying willingness is higher, because you're asking someone, how much are you willing to pay to get that 2 focused hours where you're not tired with your son or your daughter? When you ask a consumer that question, they can pay anything.
Interesting. Congrats for all you did. I'm really going to hear that. Believe me, you're going to see me in your subscribed list soon. And thank you very much for your time. It was very, very interesting talk. We will be online, I guess, in 2 weeks. Thank you everyone for listening, and talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.